Calradia would be a brutal place to live, but some factions would be way more livable than others. So in today's video, I'm going to be ranking every Bannerlord faction by one simple question. Which ones would I actually want to live in? Not the best units, not the strongest armies, just pure everyday survival. Okay, we're going to start with Battania, who I'm going to put in D tier. If I was a peasant or any other normal person living in Calradia, I would not want to live in Battania. And this mostly comes down to the fact that the buildings look like they're literally just falling down. Like, they always live in ruins, and the ruins have plants growing on them, which I'm sure Battanians love, but I personally would just not like basically my roof to just be completely open and my windows just be the holes in the bricks from wherever they fell out from. Like, there's absolutely no renovations in Battania. Yes, it looks really cool. Like, Maranath, which you're looking at right here. It's super cool looking. It has, like, insane amounts of aura. But it's just not a very practical, great place to live. And then you put that on top of the fact that literally, no matter where you go in Battania, like, you're just... Well, one day you're going to get jumped by forest bandits. Then the next day you're going to get jumped by the mountain bandits. And then just when you're done with all the bandits and looters, you're going to go back to your house and find that the Empire has turned your beautiful scenic forest front garden into a Walmart. Because Battania is basically just considered free real estate by every other faction, and they just want to get a piece of it. So you're constantly at danger from within your own faction and from, you know, outside of it. Then you're also looking at the weather, and it's just constantly boggy and rainy. Like, who would want to live there? Who would want to live somewhere where they're just constantly damp and your feet are always going to be wet, and it's just a rough lifestyle in my opinion. Like, the farming has got to be really difficult in just the dense woodland. I also noticed that in Battania they let the animals like just walk around with the people. I don't really know if I'm a big fan of that. I feel like that's just a great way to get loads of diseases. I don't know, the people just always look, in my opinion, a bit miserable, like they always have hoods up, and, like, I don't know, it's just not somewhere that I would personally want to live at all. And you just also, it's always mountainous as well, like, it's just so hilly. If you're trying to get anywhere, the incline difference is just going to be absolutely crazy. That's why there's, you know, loads of mountain bandits and everything else. Like, positives-wise, the good thing about Battania is the people have, like, a great, like, community, and they work together, and I feel like Battania, there's a lot less, like, infighting. Well, I mean, Caladog, you can say what you like about him, but I feel like they genuinely do, like, have a sense of community based on the fact they're just getting attacked by everyone else all the time. Next, we have the Aserai, who I'm gonna put in C tier. Okay, so you may think that I'm putting the Aserai a little bit high here. Like, I know the environment is pretty much actively trying to kill you. The heat is going to be very, very brutal and unforgiving. But I just feel like if you live in the cities of the Aserai, it's pretty good. Like, their cities look pretty nice. They have, like, the palm trees and stuff. They have, like, the trade is really good. And inside the buildings, you know, the heat's not really much of a problem. And I do feel like the Aserai is a lot safer. Like, I was talking about Battania, how unsafe it is because of the forests and stuff. And the other factions always come in to try and kill you. Like, yeah, I know you've got, in the Aserai, you've got the desert bandits and the corsairs, who are both going to try and ruin your day and steal all of your stuff. But you are in the water, you're in the water if you're dealing with the corsairs, so you can see them coming, and in the desert bandits, you're in the middle of a desert, so you can kind of see them coming as well. So it's a lot more predictable, I think, making your chances of survival probably better. I mean, if you're already undermanned out in the middle of the desert, what are you doing anyway? You mean you're probably going to get killed anyway by the heat, so some desert bandits don't really make a difference there too much. But yeah, I mean, obviously the water scarcity is going to be a problem. If you live near a river, that could be solved. There's that great big river going down the middle of the Aserai. That could help you out a lot, I think, when living there. But yeah, for me, it's mostly the cities. their life is good outside, you know, their life is good inside the walls of the cities. So I'm putting Aserai above Battania. Definitely the core Aserai cities, I hardly ever see them get attacked. So the prosperity is going to be really good. And just mix that with the overall quality of life being quite high, I feel. Like, yeah, you don't want to get caught out in the middle of the desert, but I feel like you're being stupid if you manage that anyway. So I'm putting Aserai in, like, I wouldn't live there as my first choice, but like if I had to spin a massive wheel of like where are you gonna live in Bannerlord, and I got teleported there, Aserai, I'd be like, yeah, okay, it's not the worst thing in the world, and you're probably not guaranteed to die. I feel like in Battania, your chances of death were a lot higher, so that's why I'm putting, you know, Aserai as like a mid-tiered option. Then we have Sturgia, who I'm gonna put in B tier. So, yes, I know that Sturgia is cold, but it's not the coldest place on the map, and the snow does go away, like from early mid-spring to early autumn. There is no snow in Sturgia, so the climate's actually pretty good. A lot of their towns, you know, they're pretty well defended, and they look really cool. You have a lot of different industries, like, as well within Sturgia. You have a lot of fishing, a lot of logging. So I think Sturgia would be quite an actual nice place to live. That is when you're not trying to deal with sea raiders if you live on the coast, or there's definitely a lot of mountain bandits inland, because Sturgia is quite mountainous. But I think the best place to live in Sturgia would be the western side, the one with Varcheg and Amor. I think that's a better place to live, because I think it's a bit flatter, and you're not next to the Nords, because the Nords always love to raid Sturgia, and I wouldn't want any part of that. But I think the thing that Sturgia has is just a better climate than the two previous factions I've talked about, as well with just being safer for the common person. I mean, as a faction, I know that Sturgia isn't really safe at all, and they're in a pretty bad position, but I feel like for a normal Sturgian peasant, life isn't that bad, especially if you live in, like, Varnovopol, which just is definitely, I don't know if it is my favourite city in the game, but I just think it's super cool. You know, I think you have a pretty decent time. You're pretty well suited for the cold. It feels like Sturgia, you know, is very well built for the cold environment. That's what their thing's always been. Give Sturgia a snow movement bonus now. Like, that's all I want for Sturgia, just a snow movement bonus. It makes perfect sense. I know, I just feel like if I was going to be sent anywhere in Bannerlord to live, Sturgia, definitely one of my better picks. I think it's really good. A lot of places you can go. I think Sea Raiders are an issue, but Sea Raiders are pretty ubiquitous across the map, so it's not really a point I can make. You know, you find Sea Raiders in the Southern Empire, so Sea Raiders are a little bit like looters. They're kind of everywhere, and overall, I just think Sturgia, a predictable climate, so you can prepare for the cold season, and a pretty nice economy. So yeah, it's going B tier. If you are enjoying this Bannerlord how much I'd like to live in each faction ranking video, please consider liking and subscribing to support the channel. The vast majority of you are not subscribed, so if you could subscribe, it would really help me out. Thank you to everyone who's already subscribed. Also, if you'd like to talk about anything I discuss in this video, or you'd like to help out with future videos, please consider joining my Discord server. The link will be in the description, as always. Then we have the Khuzait, who are gonna go in D tier. So the reason that I don't want to live anywhere near the Khuzait is just because the steppe is a whole load of endless nothing. There's just endless grass, wind, and fields, and there's ages between towns, and maybe that kind of worked when the Khuzait had the nomadic lifestyle. But now that they've been conquered and forced, you know, out of that lifestyle, you're just kind of stuck in the middle of nowhere with basically nothing to do apart from learning to ride a horse and use a bow. You know, I just don't feel like, you know, living in the Khuzait is very enjoyable at all. And, you know, there's going to be a lot of wars. Khuzait love to get into wars. And you're probably going to get called up as some sort of spearman and just get, you know, mowed down. Unless you're a Khan's guard, you know, the Khuzait are just going to have a lot of fodder units that, you know, and you're probably going to end up being one if you're just a peasant and you get rallied up. And then not to mention the steppe bandits. Oh my god. They must be so annoying for normal people that live in the Khuzait, because they will just pull up on you instantly. And if you're not on a fast horse yourself, I mean, you're just finished, because they're horse archers and they're melee cavalry as well, and they'll just pull up on you, steal all of your stuff, outrun you so easily, that they're so fast. It's just like a real big problem. And like I was saying, there's just like, I feel like there's just a bit of limited industry within the Khuzait, like, of interesting things to go into. If it's not making, you know, if it's not making war horses, or like, you know, wheat, I don't really know what else there's really to do. I just think it lacks a lot of infrastructure. I'm not sure I'm the biggest fan of the architecture. I just think that it's just not a place I'd want to live. It looks a little bit boring and just pretty harsh. The climate in the north, it seems to get very cold, and in the south, it's definitely very hot. So not much of a nice temperate climate that I'd be looking for personally. So like, yeah, no, definitely not somewhere I'd want to be. I don't really want to be isolated under the constant threat of getting raided by super fast bandits that can disappear instantly in a harsh weather environment where the nomadic lifestyle that kept them going has now been removed by their leader. It just feels like just such a horrible place to live. I don't know. If you disagree with me, let me know in the comments why. I'd be interested to know. Then we have the Empire, who are gonna go in A tier. The Empire is literally nearly perfect, and I think for like a while, it definitely, well, for ages in Calradia, it was the, you know, perfect place to live, because it is like the most civilized place. Definitely has the best cities. Like, I love the architecture. It just all the cities just look really nice. And the infrastructure is just so, like, far ahead, I think, of loads of the other factions. I mean, you look at Battania, and, like, the walls were falling down and stuff. Whereas when you look at the Empire, everything just looks, like, brand new, really nice. The climate of the Empire is basically just the Mediterranean, Southern European climate. Just one of the best climates in the world. Super nice. And, you know, a great economy with the trade. And I think as well the fact that the Empire definitely has the largest number of towns and villages in its culture means that if you were, you know, of the Empire culture and you lived there, you had the most number of places you could go to that was still your culture, if you know what I mean. And there's probably they actually are the largest population of people on Calradia, which is just, you know, a good thing for them. They definitely have, you know, great culture and everything, but obviously there's a reason they're not an S tier, and that reason is just the civil war. When you have the three opposing empires fighting each other, it means that the conflict is always going to be at your doorstep with other people from your culture, and that's not great. You know, I think, when Arenikos was emperor pre, the Civil War, living in the Empire was definitely S tier. Now it's been shifted down to A tier. Still probably one of the best for the everyday people, but it's not nice when you then have other Imperials coming and burning you down just because your lord agrees with one ruler's ideology instead of the other ones. So definitely, the most civilized and probably, definitely the most developed, just not quite the most stable politically, which is naturally going to be felt down at the lower levels. Like when Garios and Lucon and Regaia are just going at it, eventually, if you're a normal person, you're going to end up with an arrow flying through your window at some point. Which just, I think I'm looking for a more stable faction for when I'm trying to pick S tier. Then we have the Nords, who are going to go in F tier. So I know that this might be an extremely unpopular opinion, but living in the Nords it's just permanently cold. Even in the summer, in most of the parts of the Nord territory, the snow doesn't even go away. So that means you're living in literal permafrost. Like, the snow just never leaves, you're constantly cold, and that cannot be fun. And you might say to me, no, Siege Tactics, I'd be, if I was living in the Nords, I'd be a super cool Viking Raider Warlord. No, you wouldn't. You'd be the guy from Reuvenbreck, who lived in the middle of nowhere in permanent snow, mining iron ore with a 2 days walk to the nearest village. Or you'd be on a fishing vessel that got jumped by 60 sea raiders and you were forced to give up your entire life savings just so they didn't dump your body into the cold waters of the Northern Ocean. You see what I'm getting at? Everywhere in the Nords, the whole culture revolves around the warrior Viking lifestyle. Now that's really cool until you're flung onto the walls of some Khuzait castle by your Nord warlords as they endlessly try and take on horse archers by chasing after them. Like, I just don't think the survivability of anybody in the Nords can be high at all. Like, just no matter what profession you're going into, you're either extremely, like the places in the north, I'm sure they're quite safe. They're also extremely boring. And then if you live anywhere on the sea or anywhere in the borders, like, their armies are just infantry. So if you listen to infantry, like, infantry have just not a very good lifespan. You're going to get hit by some catapult that's just going to take you all out. Now, I know that's similar across all the factions, but, say you were cavalry, like, you maybe had a better chance. I don't know. I just can't shake my feeling that living in the Nords is either extremely miserable or extremely deadly. Like, sea raiders are a huge issue, and there's also I find there's so many looters. There's, like, a disproportionate amount of looters, probably because there's less land for them to kind of raid, but there just seems to be loads of them. And then, oh my god, God forbid you live on the Baneland. Like, what is there to do on the Baneland? There's one town. Like, what are you doing if you live in Hyrcartius? You just live in the middle of nowhere, but it's, like, extra nowhere. You're not even connected to anything. You didn't have to get a boat to go anywhere off the island, the super cold island where there's loads of deserters everywhere, just raiding everything. And then you're on that boat and you're going to get jumped again. It just cannot be fun at all. And finally, we have Vlandia, which is going to go in S tier. Look, I know I may as well change my channel name to the Vlandia Glazer, but I'm telling you it's completely justified every time. Living in Vlandia would be absolutely amazing compared to anywhere else, because not only is Vlandia the strongest military power and, my S tier faction in the game, just the fact that they win pretty much all their wars, meaning that you'd be super safe and it would always be super prosperous. But my main point as well is just, like, the climate is just really, like, temperate and really nice. Like, maybe the Empire's climate slightly better, it'd be a little bit warmer, but I think Vlandia, it's just a great climate that would just suit most people, what most people would like. And the fact as well that they have such a high number of towns means they're actually going to have the highest number. They're going to have 8 patrols. Now, that means there's going to be substantially less looters being allowed to run around. And Vlandia doesn't have any, like, unique bandits. Maybe the occasional mountain or forest bandits, but the high number of patrols is going to deal with them. Like, I would absolutely love to live in Vlandia if I was chucked in anywhere. Like, their castles look super cool. Their towns are super safe. You have, like, in the south, you have all those options, and you go north, you got just loads of different places you could go. They've got great industries, and overall, it just feels like definitely the nicest place to live. I think you value probably safety over everything, and then when you mix that with the climate, it just works. So yeah, I am the ultimate Vlandia Glazer, but I just think best place to live. I mean, when the faction's doing as well as they always do, you want to live with the winners, and you aren't worrying about bandits as much, and the environment isn't trying to kill you. like it was with the Nords, or the Aserai, or in some cases Battania. But in Battania, it's more like the trees are trying to kill you because they're talking to each other and planning how much they're going to steal from you. So, you know, it's like the local lords way stronger, and the villages are just, you know, you're not, I mean, God, Vlandian villages hardly get raided unless, you know, the Sturgians are coming from the north or something. So if you're near, like, Galend or Saga or Jakulan, I think those are the places that, like, 100% are going to be safe and are going to work really well for you. Okay, so that was every Bannerlord faction ranked by how much I'd want to live there. Let me know what you thought of it, if you agree, if you disagree, drop your takes in the comments, along with any video ideas. Also, drop some ideas for other games you'd like to see me cover. I've done a lot of Bannerlord videos. If you have any other strategy or war games, or any games already that you'd like to see me cover, I just feel like making videos on some new games. So let me know what you'd like to see. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and join the Discord server. Apart from that, that is it from me. Goodbye, and thanks for watching.